Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at Release Readiness. Very excited to be here today for the first time talking about Salesforce CPQ and billing. We're going to hear a little bit about the new Spring 19 release features. I'm joined by my colleagues Frank and Christina in the studio today, who'll be going deeper into all of the great new features that are available in the upcoming release. Before we get started, just a quick housekeeping note. Salesforce is a publicly traded company, so please make all of your buying decisions based on features and functionality that is currently available. Frank, can you please take a minute to introduce yourself for the audience?
Sure. Thanks, Jesse. My name is Frank. I've been with Salesforce for the last year and a half, primarily working on Salesforce CPQ and billing. It's my first time doing Release Readiness, and I'm beyond excited. Today, I'm going to spend some time talking about usage-based pricing.
Great. Christina?
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Javier. I've been with Salesforce over the years in different roles, but I've been really excited to support Salesforce CPQ and billing for the last year. Today, I'll talk to you about Evergreen Subscriptions.
Perfect. Well, we are looking forward to getting into all of the great details about the Spring 19 release. We're going to kick it off here with Frank giving us a deeper dive into usage-based pricing.
Perfect. So usage-based pricing is a new business model that enables customers to monetize products and services based on the consumption patterns of their customers. With Salesforce CPQ and billing, we now have an end-to-end story on how you can define, quote, price, order, contract, process and rate, and bill customers' consumption. I'd love to go into demo right now.
Please.
Perfect. So let's first talk about the product setup. As you may know from Salesforce CPQ, you can set up your products as subscriptions. Here, there actually aren't very many changes. You do notice that this product does have a billing rule, tax rule, and revenue recognition rule, very similar to how we've done it prior with CPQ, Salesforce CPQ and billing. On a related list, you'll notice something new here. We call this the product consumption schedule. This represents different dimensions of usages. So let's dive into content delivery. Content delivery is a type of usage that is measured by its dimension of gigabytes. The other one was measured by its unit of measure of hours. Here you notice we have something called a rating method. The rating method defines how we plan to rate this type of usage. For the Spring 19 release, we are launching with the tiered rating method. This enables customers to be able to model their consumption based on a tiers model, such as 1 to 50 being $5, 51 to 100 being $4, and 101 plus being $3 each. Here we also have something called a category that we'll dive into a little bit later, as well as independent billing rules, tax rules, and rev rec rules for each consumption schedule, enabling our customers to independently define these configurations for each consumption schedule. So let's dive into the rate. As I mentioned earlier, we have different types of consumption rates. Based on our tier model, we have 1 to 50 for $5. And here we have configuration allowing our customers to price these differently, either as a per unit or flat fee. So now that this product has been set up, let's go into quoting it. So here I've already created a quote. I'm going to go into my edit line. So I can go into the quote line editor. When I'm here, I can see that I've already added my product, which is called the media processing service, with a quantity of 1, a start and end date of starting February 1st, ending next year. And since this is completely usage-based, this will be a price of $0. I'll notice that there's this little icon here called View Consumption Schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. What this brings me to are the different dimensions of usages. Here I had those categories I mentioned earlier, and these categories are a great way to organize your different types of dimensions or organize your different consumption schedules based on your needs. So for instance, I've had content delivery where I can see my different tiers, 1 to 50 at $5, 51 to 100 at $4, and 101 plus at $3. If I want to look at my other dimension of usage, I can go ahead and click this tab, which is a separate category, and I can see that this usage has a range from 1 to 1,000, which is a price of 80 cents. This is really awesome because now I have one product that has multiple dimensions of usages. I'm going to go ahead and give a discount of 20% across all my consumption schedules. So when I hit quick save and jump back into my consumption schedules, I can now see that the prices have changed. The original price of this was $5. but since I've given it a 20% discount, that has now been reduced to $4 here. Great. This is the part of where I negotiate with my customers. I find that this is the predetermined rate that the customer wants to agree to. So I'm going to go ahead and save this quote, approve it, and order it. Here I have my order product, which has already been activated. This order product contains the rates that was part of the negotiation phase, as part of the quoting phase. So here I notice that this looks very, very similar to our typical order products, except in my related tab, I now see that I have multiple different consumption schedules. As part of the product definition, I did set up different billing terms for these. So for content delivery, I want to be billed every month, whereas media processing, I want to be billed every 6 months. So let's dive into content delivery real quick. Here I've noticed that my tax treatments, billing treatments, and revenue recognition rule have already been populated. If you're very familiar with Salesforce billing, these should be all very familiar concepts. We've just enabled this to be accessible from the consumption schedule level in addition to the order product. So when I go to my related list, I actually see my usage summaries. So usage summaries are a way to manage your billing periods and a way to manage your usage within a certain period of time. So this was a 1-year order with a monthly billing term. So because of that, I expect 12 different usage summaries, one for every month. So here I see from February 1st to the end of February, I will have one usage summary. And so any usage I consume and during this time period will fit into this usage summary and will be rated in near real time at the price that was negotiated as part of the quoting process. So let's go ahead and create a usage record. With Salesforce Billing, we enable our customers to create usage records. This can be done in a couple different ways. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and create one manually. Our customers can use a custom implementation to create usage records based on consumption of their customers. So I'm going to go ahead and enter a matching ID. This matching ID is used to define the instance of an order consumption schedule. In that usage summary, I've noticed that I had a usage summary for the month of February. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I use this in February 7th. Select the unit of measure, which denotes my dimension of usage. In this case, I'm going to use gigabytes with a quantity of how much was used. So I'm going to say I used 10 gigabytes. When I hit save, what should happen is this usage record has logic to identify which usage summary to fall under. I can tell it already matched with the usage summary of 0132. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. And you'll notice here is I already have a total quantity of 10 with an unbilled subtotal of 40. This 40 comes from the rates that was predefined as part of the quoting process. So if I go back to my consumption schedule, you'll notice that it's based on the rate of $4 per usage. With Salesforce Billing, we have a concept called Invoice Scheduling, which enables our customers to be able to invoice their usage. So I've already set up an invoice scheduler and I've already ran it. What I should create is an invoice line from that invoice scheduler that denotes the quantity as well as the amount, in this case, which would be $40. Here I can create an invoice documentation, or I can send it out to my customers and post this invoice. From here I can collect payments, all part of Salesforce Billing. And this is a quick demonstration of usage-based pricing from CPQ all the way to Salesforce Billing.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank. That's, I know, a feature that many of our customers have been asking about, and it's really exciting to see that here in the Spring 19 release. A couple questions. As an admin, I know that this is something that I've been waiting for. What do I need and what do I need to do in order to enable this in my instance?
Great question. So with CPQ Plus, you can have the product setup, the quoting, the editing, the ordering, and the contracts. And if you want to do the rating, the usage collection, and the invoicing and payments, you will need Billing Plus. And all this will be released as part of the Spring 19 release.
Perfect. You also mentioned that usage can be summarized in near real time. Can you talk a little bit about the design decisions around doing it that way versus collecting it all at the end of the usage summary period?
Yeah, so we had a couple debates on how we wanted to show usage to our customers. We could have done it in near real time, or we could have done it at the very end of the billing period. We decided to make it in real time so that our customers were aware of how much usage has been consumed within like 5 days into the billing period, so that they can create workflow rules and create custom implementations, to send notifications, to be able to do whatever workflow that they may want to say, hey, you've already used half of your usage allocated. This might be a good opportunity for you to upgrade or upsell. So it provides that extra flexibility in our system.
Amazing. You touched on invoicing a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about any differences between invoicing of usage-based versus regular subscriptions?
So our invoice scheduler will actually use order products as well as the usage summary for invoicing. All you need to do is just check a checkbox that says bill usage charges. That's the only difference. Your invoice scheduler will continuously run based on how you define it and set it up.
Great. And obviously, this is a very new feature. Are there any gotchas or known limitations that we should be aware of today?
Sure. Yeah, so there are a couple known limitations just because this is one of our first releases for usage-based pricing. The first limitation is you can only have a quantity of 1 for any usage-based pricing product. If you want to make any changes like amendments or cancellations, they have to be done via cancel and replace strategy. We actually do not offer amendments today. And the last gotcha is usage-based pricing usage-based pricing products do not work with Evergreen today.
Got it. Well, that's a great segue into Christina, who will show us a little bit about Evergreen Subscriptions and take us through a demo there as well.
Awesome, thank you. So we at Salesforce CPQ and Billing have been supporting the recurring revenue model through the years. We've seen a lot of evolutions from selling perpetual licenses to renewable subscriptions. And now we're seeing businesses increasingly adopt an evergreen subscription model, a scenario where subscriptions do not end until buyer or seller cancels. And with that, I want to go through the demo. So when you set up an evergreen product, you actually go through very similar steps to any other products you would set up. A key difference is that if you look at the subscription section of your new product information, you'll see that subscription type has 2 new values available: Evergreen and Renewable/Evergreen. If you're selling your subscription such that it's always supposed to be sold as an Evergreen, then you would select the Evergreen picklist value. However, if you want to give the flexibility in your sales reps to choose between renewable subscriptions and Evergreen subscriptions, then you select Renewable/Evergreen so that they can make that choice at time of quoting. Now, let's go to the quote line editor to see how you can sell your Evergreen products. I've set up 2 products to be sold on the quote line editor. The first one being a fitness class subscription that is only meant to be sold as Evergreen. And so, in the subscription type column, you only see Evergreen as an available option. Similarly, I've set up a yoga library access, which is access to a library that's available as to be sold as Evergreen and Renewable. So if you look at your subscription types, the sales reps would see 2 options, Evergreen as well as Renewable. For the sake of this demo, I want to sell the Yoga Video Library Access as Renewable. In this scenario, we have start dates as 2/1 for both products. However, because we're in an Evergreen scenario where the subscription continues until buyer or seller cancels, there's no end date population available. Similarly, if you look at the Yoga Library Access, which is Renewable, we can add an end date. And so let's put in an end date of a year just for the sake of the demo. And let's hit save and see how that updates the quote. So we've saved the quote, closed the opportunity, and updated the order to activated so that we can see how Evergreen subscriptions are managed in the contract area. In this scenario, something that's distinct from what you might have seen with your renewable subscriptions is that you have 2 contracts created from that quote. If you look at the first contract, you'll see that the Evergreen subscription is managed on its own Evergreen contract, denoted by the Evergreen checkbox. You can see here that there is no contract end date to this contract and there's no contract term. And this contract will continue until you're notified by your buyer that the subscription is ended. On the other hand, you'll see the Yoga Library product, which is sold as Renewable, have the similar details as you normally see on the contracts, meaning that there's a start date, an end date, a term, and it means that it can be renewed. Now let's look to how invoicing will work going forward. So like Frank demoed earlier, you'll see that we can run our invoice run and see our invoice for the first month. In this case, that would be 2/1. In this scenario, you'd see two invoice lines created, one for your fitness class subscription, which was $20 starting on 2/1, and one for your yoga library subscription starting in 2/1 and ending in 1/31 in 2020. And so you can see kind of our end-to-end process for supporting Evergreen subscriptions.
Perfect. Thank you, Christina. That was very interesting. A couple questions around Evergreen subscriptions. The first one, based on what we saw from Frank as well, do Evergreen and usage-based pricing work together?
Yeah, so while we have two great features that we're very excited to introduce to our customers, currently we don't have them working together. We look forward to future releases where you can sell usage-based products in an Evergreen fashion.
Perfect. And then based on creating all of those records as a result of this process, can I make a change or amendment to an existing Evergreen subscription after it's already been closed out?
While we really look forward to Evergreen amendments, at this time, our current strategy for managing amendments is to cancel and replace the subscription. In the future, we look forward to adding more amendment functionality in this area.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We had a lot of fun here in the Release Readiness Studios talking about the Salesforce CPQ and Billing Spring 19 release. We're excited to rejoin you again in the next release. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on the Trailblazer community in the Salesforce CPQ and Billing group. That's at success.salesforce.com. I want to thank Frank and Christina for joining me live in the studio today, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on Release Readiness.